Hello everyone, welcome to Dirtbag Minimal. I'm Karina, your host. Today I just wanted to do a small video to talk about why I decided to go tiny. There's a lot of good reasons to do it, and they all kind of combined to make this one big dream. The first one was all about the fact that I didn't want to continue paying rent, and I wanted to take control over my own living situation. I didn't want to buy a house. I didn't have the funds to be able to buy a house, where I wanted to, etc. And I knew that I could build a space for myself, literally put a roof over my head, and that felt absolutely amazing. This was a project that I felt like I could tackle. I've had some experience building before, but most importantly, I consider myself an artist. So I never really have one specific medium that I'm working with. I dabble in a lot, sort of just a lot of different things. Building and sculpture and things like that make a lot of sense to me. Spatially, things make sense. I can just sew something together or build something because I can see it and imagine it in the inside of it, how it needs to turn, what needs to be cut, more or less. I, have many mistakes, but that is an avenue that I could go down. There's a lot of things I'm really, really bad at. And so I knew that this was something that if I put my energy into, it would come more easily than doing something else, like trying to make a lot of money in order to buy a big house or something, which I wouldn't want anyway. But this was in the realm of my capabilities. The stuff I am good at, it's good to let that flourish. And if that's my strength and these are the things I can do, I can, work less to make less money, but I can work more in terms of building and constructing because that's what I'm good at. I didn't want a mortgage. I didn't know where I want to end up. So the fact that a house on wheels that I can pull it along was just the perfect idea. Also, when I got more into the details, understanding that when you put a house on wheels, you can avoid so many permits, and permits really stop you from being able to do a lot of the little creative things that you want to do because there's a lot of set guidelines with that. And if I could go around permits, I would save a bunch of money and I would have so much more creative freedom. Making a tiny house was the cheapest option I had in terms of creating a space for myself, building a house for myself. I can't afford a mortgage or buying a house or anything. I can't afford to buy a tiny house either. So I had to build it. And I've saved some money and I've been working along the way as I've been building it. And I'll create a whole sheet on expenses of stuff. A lot of people ask me about that. How much did it cost? And I just said, well, I'm just going to build it until I run out of money, which is, not the smartest thing and not how a lot of people do it. A lot of people have a budget and lay everything out. And I, again, just jump on in. So I'll get all that information out there to help people sort of conceptualize how much it did cost and where they can cut costs in one corner or where they could pay more if they want. Simplicity. I think that that's also number one. I have a lot of number ones. The fact that having less stuff just feels so much better in the mind, in the space around you. I've never been someone to really want a bunch of stuff. I do have to admit my Achilles heel would be clothing, but it's never. I never buy really expensive stuff. It's more so clothing as an artist has been a way to express myself. So that's one of the biggest hurdles. But in general, that's something I'm working towards because the idea of minimalism and the minimalist lifestyle just is and feels so freeing. Not only, there's a lot of documentation on this and studies about the fact that when you have a lot of clutter around you, it clutters your brain too. So if I can get rid of a lot of stuff, that will open my brain and help me in my personal struggles with mental health and things like that. I can, anxiety comes and depression can come when you have sort of a filled up mind. So being able to let go of a lot of things would translate probably into other aspects of my life. And just a clean slate. I've always loved that design anyway, this sort of clean Scandinavian modern design of very little decorations, very little stuff, and it lets you focus on moments, time, focus inwards, all that stuff. Also, number one is the environmental impact that it creates. Now, I know I'm just buying a bunch of stuff to make a new space to live in, and a lot of people might say that that's not good either, but the fact is that I'm not buying into a huge house that is going to waste a lot of energy and space. I'm using my time and my resources to build something that's very small and compact, and I'm trying to make it as sturdy and as well built as possible, so that if I decide to move out sometime, or even way out in the future, once I've passed, somebody else could live in it because I've taken the time to create such a sound structure. So I'm really putting a lot of effort into it. A lot of houses these days are built sort of just flippantly. They're not constructed very well and won't hold up over time because of material and just sort of the fast consumerist world we live in. Just pop them out, get them up so people can buy and move in. And so I'm trying to source materials and use things like denim insulation and using a countertop from wood that's sourced near where I live and little things like that. Trying to use the least amount of plastic possible to create a structure that will have less impact on the environment. That's one aspect of it. The other aspect, which directly impacts me now, is how I am going to live in a much, much smaller space than most people do. So I need to have less stuff. Also, I'm going to be so much more aware of what I consume because I am making some sacrifices. For example, I have a composting toilet, which that's great because it uses so much less water than toilets do. And I will be very intimate with, seeing how much waste I create and being a part of that. This way, I'm also contributing in the sense that I will be consuming a lot less water because toilets use a lot. Also, I have a little hot water heater that's an on-demand system, and it's only going to give me a certain amount of time for a hot shower or, to wash my clothes in hot water and things like that. So it's going to make me be more mindful of how much water I'm using. And because I live in the first world, I live in the United States, I am so privileged and blessed to have access to almost anything I need at any time. And so it's hard to stop and take a step back and be like, well, actually, do I need to use this much water? Do I need to do this? So if I can kind of make my environment force me to think that way, that's one way that I can, have a better imprint on this world. Also, I eventually plan on going solar, but in general, my house won't be able to use that much electricity because I have a sort of, I'm just going to plug it into an outlet for now, and it doesn't get that much energy, so I need to be particular in what I use. And I'm be using a wood-burning stove. It's very efficient, so that's great because I won't have to use that much product to heat up that small space. But also, I'm going to be always working to cut the wood and get it ready and put the wood in there. So I'll be very conscious of what I'm consuming in that way. And let's say I am too lazy to cut wood enough for the night or whatnot, I'll just have to layer on a lot of sweaters and just sort of see directly my contribution and the energy it takes to live a lifestyle that I live. I'll be buying propane tanks for my stove and the hot water heater, so I will be seeing how many tanks I'll be using. It'll be kind of very visual and monetary representation of how much do I consume. I really love making and building things, so it made sense to me to do a tiny house. The journey to go tiny has always been very personal for me. I wasn't really out to share it that much, but after seeing how people react when they see the space, or if I share a photo or tell someone, people tend to light up and get really excited. A lot of people want to live in a tiny house, or at least they're interested in it. There's a lot of TV shows and stuff about it that I actually haven't seen. But the fact that the way I do things is realistic. I'm not a perfectionist at all. I always jump right into everything without knowing much. I just jump on in and I make a bunch of mistakes, and that's how I learn. So I just want to show people that you can do that. You can just decide to have this dream and jump in and learn in the way and ask questions. So I just want to inspire everyone else, and just so they can reach out, ask any questions you want. I want to be able to provide the space to show that you can be a total mess and you can still be creative, get stuff done, and yeah, you can do it. So anyway, I just really hope you all enjoy, and yeah, thanks for watching.